So welcome to today's workshop for information sessions for engineering students. My name is Alejandra Arguez, my pronouns are she, her, hers. And today we do have graduate division presenting on demystifying grad school. So please be prepared to ask any questions that you have in the chat. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted later on YouTube. So I'll go ahead and pass it on over to Edgar.
Thank you, Alejandra. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. My name is Edgar Beas. My pronouns are he, him, él, and I'm really happy to be here to present to all of you. Today's topic is demystifying grad school and some tips and strategies on planning and applying for grad school. So we'll sit through a variety of slides. I have some good information to give you, and I guess we'll get started. I can answer any questions that you might have, so please put them in the chat, and I'm more than happy to stop and answer those for you. Let me go ahead and share my screen and get started here. All right. So, as I mentioned, today's topic is demystifying grad school, and this is my contact information. I work for campus in the graduate division, where we do diversity outreach, recruitment, and retention. And we speak about grad school. We do presentations like this all the time. So we're really, really happy to be here. We have experience with current grad students on campus and also preparing undergrads for grad school. So the first slide that I have here talks about two questions that are essential to kind of put us all in perspective and making sure that if you're here today that you can start thinking about these two questions, right? So the first one is, what are the things that you have heard about grad school? And how much do you know about grad school, right? So again, these two questions, we're going to sort of get started with this. So just think about these questions and think about the ideas or the essentially the many different topics or the many different times that you've heard about the concept and how much you know about it. So these are some of the ideas or the preconceived notions about graduate school and some of the ones that I like to challenge and to clear today, right? And then to not clear, clarify a little bit more. But the first one is about timing. And the first one talks about whether someone is in the right time as far as pursuing a graduate degree. Grad school is not for everyone, of course, and one really needs to be in a place where you feel ready to go to grad school, right? And to pursue a degree that expands beyond your bachelor's degree, right? So the question is here, is it the right time to do it, right? And I would say the answer for this depends on each person, right? And depends on where you feel that you're at as far as your preparation for it. The second idea here is a graduate degree, do I need to pursue a graduate degree in the same area of study or in the same field of study as I did for my undergrad? And really the answer here is not really. There are many different ways that one can still pursue a somewhat similar or similar degree or in an area similar to where you were doing as an undergrad, right? And it really depends on the field. And it really depends on the area as far as whether you can pursue a degree in a certain area. For example, if you were and just to put us in perspective, in the School of Engineering, and you're currently, your major is currently electrical engineering, right? And in the future, you say, you know what, I think I like electrical engineering. I did that for my undergrad, but I think for grad school, I really want to go into exploring uh, I was going to say a related area because there's many different engineerings, but maybe I want to go in and look at aerospace engineering, right? So that's a different area, but it's in a similar field, right? In engineering. So at the end of the day, I think it really depends on the department and the transition and your background to really determine whether you could do that change or not. The next idea here is that grad school is only for some people and not for me or not for people that I know, right? And I like to kind of clarify and say that this idea is wrong. I think really the graduate degree is for those that want to pursue it for the right reasons, right? So I think it is for those that really need and want a graduate degree and really want to expand and really enjoy doing the work that a grad student does. I've heard it's too expensive. Graduate degrees are expensive, and for some degrees, there is financial aid and there are some funding opportunities for your degrees, but some others you don't have any, and you have to pay out of pocket. Right? I've heard is demanding and difficult. It's going to be more challenging for sure, right? I'm going to talk about in a minute how as humans, when we expand our knowledge, right, and we go we go through these transitions when we're in school, right, all the way from when we're little and we start in kindergarten, right, and we go through the K through 12 system, and we go into college, and then we get a degree, right, and then how that's going to go ahead and expand even more knowledge that you have. So it is by definition going to be more challenging for you. So let's talk about the concept. Let's talk about graduate school. And the first thing that I like to say here is that the concept or graduate education encompasses everything that is beyond the bachelor's degree. What are those things? Well, those things are research, those things are study, and those things are teaching, right? So these are the three main components of graduate education that are characteristic to it that you don't normally see in a bachelor's degree, right? What are some of the differences between undergrad and grad? So some of the differences are that when you're in grad school, you're surrounded by more like-minded and surrounded by people who are interested in the same field as you are, right? As in the same areas and the same research topics. The second one is classes are by definition more interactive, and by definition students are asked to do a lot more, right? So you have to think on a different level, as it says here, right? You have more time to do research and to do writing, and there's a little less structure in, for example, a PhD program. A master's might be a little more structured, but in general, these programs offer the ability to have a little more freedom to explore and delve yourselves into research and writing. And lastly, professors really treat you like peers. And this goes back to the point where it says that you have to think on a different level and you really have to spend time doing research and writing, right? So professors are really like your peers. And they really expect you to go from point A to point Z and be able to navigate that, right? obviously with support and everything, but you're really treated like a peer. All right. The biggest knowledge of them all is that you'll be creating knowledge, right? So you'll be expanding the boundaries of knowledge, and you'll be basically expanding and creating and writing about new things, right? So one really helpful graphic that I like to show people when we talk about this idea of creating knowledge and expanding the boundaries of knowledge. I really like this. This is actually on the Duke University's website, and I like to show you this because this is really, really cool. And they themselves adapted it from an article by Matt Might, and I think this essentially just visualizes everything that I'm talking about as far as grad school, and specifically like a PhD, right? Like the progress from like when we're young all the way to completing the terminal, the last degree that one could complete, in this case, a PhD. So if you think of this line of this curve as the boundary of human knowledge, so this picture shows those boundaries, right? The bounds of human knowledge. If we think of K through 12, you gain a bit of knowledge in a lot of areas, right? And these are different boxes colored in different colors. And then you finish high school, you go into college, and then you start learning more and more, and you start specializing, right? You start choosing a major, right? Maybe a minor, and start kind of getting more knowledge, you know, and filling these boxes and getting more colors and new colors, right, of boxes. There's more and more things that you know as a person. Then in a master's degree, right, you acquire specialization and a technical expertise. So you acquire a certain set of skills and knowledge that really puts you at a level where you have more specialization, right? So you can see these two boxes. You're not anymore having too many color boxes, right? Because you're only focusing on these two or these three or these four different boxes, but you're really specializing, right? And when you get to a PhD, you're studying existing research, right? That takes you to the limits of human knowledge. So PhD students really go in and they look at what's being researched at the moment, and they get to those boundaries, right, of the unknown, and or essentially of the things that they would like to work on to expand those boundaries. The next slide here shows once you are at the edge, you focus and push at the boundary for a few years. As a PhD student, you keep doing research, and then there's some point where you make a new contribution, and then you help expand those boundaries of human knowledge. So guess what? The boundary of knowledge in that particular field is going to be expanded because you just made a new contribution to that field, right? So again, this is a really good graphic. Hope that you were able to understand it and grasp the concept of it. So essentially, you know, there's a huge difference from undergrad to a grad degree. All right, so what are some of the pathways? What are some of the ways that you can get into grad school, right? So you can go, obviously, as an undergrad, you can go and work in industry, and then take a few years to get experience outside, and then go to grad school. Many people choose to go directly into grad school, and that's a pathway that we're going to go ahead and explore later on. And then there's people that go on and gain experience in different ways, not necessarily only by working in the field, but some of these people have experiences doing travel abroad or doing a variety of different things that could help them to get to grad school as well. What are some of the types of graduate degrees? And these are just two of the main ones, right? So we have master's degrees and doctoral degrees. Hopefully you're somewhat acquainted with these two. And the first one, as a master's degree, people complete them in about 2 to 3 years. They are most coursework based. Some of them include the completion of a thesis to finish it, and some others ask you to do a comp exam or some type of project. Then in a doctoral degree, you spend about 5 to 6 years is the average time. From there, you take courses only in the first couple of years normally, and then you do research after that. You write a dissertation, which is the final requirement for the doctoral degree, and then you defend it. And that's where you basically get to the end of your doctoral degree. All right, so what are some of the reasons someone would like to consider pursuing graduate school, right? So making a case for grad school, or whether this is a personal goal of yours and something that you would like to pursue, whether you want to expand career opportunities, maybe meet some professional standards. There are some requirements that you need to fulfill in order to be a more senior engineer, right? And then you have to obviously go and get a master's or go get a different type of degree or certification. If you want to conduct research, and if also you want to be in academia and be a researcher, and in a higher education setting as a faculty member, you also are required to do graduate school. What are some of the data? What does some of the data say about grad school and some of the statistics? So this is a graphic that shows the individuals with a graduate degree, and this is data as of 2017. So it's a bit outdated. There's more recent data, but I really like this graphic because it basically explains in essence how many young adults are going or are getting graduate degrees. So in this case, in 2017, obviously 8% of women aged 18 to 34 had a graduate degree versus 5% of men. And this is something that it's normal, and this is something that is constantly changing. So the next slide really presents the case for how much throughout the time, right? And this is a graphic that expands from 2000 all the way to 2018, how these graphics have been getting bigger and bigger, right? So the blue represents all bachelor's degrees, and then master's, and then doctorate degrees. And then if we look at the orange, these are the master's degrees. And you can see also how throughout time, throughout the years, the size of these graphs has been increasing, which means that the population 25 and over has been getting more and more education, right? And then the doctorate degree too, you can see that it has been getting bigger and bigger. The median earnings for grad school, and just to make a case for grad school, median earnings just in general from the U.S. Census Bureau, this is data, obviously just shows an increase from one to another in terms of the educational attainment and the earnings. All right, so let's talk now about what do you need to do? What are some of the things that you need to complete to make sure that you can position yourself in a good place to begin your search and to begin your planning for grad school, right? So as you're going through your undergrad years, these are three things that, these are three stages that you're gonna encounter, right? As a more fresh starting in college, as a freshman, sophomore, there are some things that you could do to make progress, right? To be able to position yourself in a better way to be a more qualified candidate. The next is as a junior and then as a senior. As you can see, as a freshman, sophomore, we're going to start there. It is really important out of this box to consider, right, getting undergraduate experience, undergraduate research experience, and also seeking co-curricular opportunities, meaning participating in or volunteering or leading, right, student organizations, being part of them, engaging in on-campus events, presentations. Then as a junior, the highlight here is really that perfect time where you're going to start planning for the next year, right? And when we start thinking about this timeline, this is if maybe you're considering and applying and transitioning into grad school right at the end of your undergrad. Really, junior year is the key, right? Because you really want to get your research experience done. You really want to keep and maintain a good GPA and good grades, and you really want to take leadership opportunities when you can, to be able to, to be able to have better experience when it comes to admissions. And then as a senior, obviously, if you're thinking of starting right after you graduate, you've got to apply in the fall, right? For the institutions that you plan to go. And then we really recommend that if you have a chance to showcasing your research, that would really be key for that. Right. I didn't mention it too much, but I like to go back to this graph and just mention the fact of graduate preparation programs are an important aspect and an important opportunity for students to get experience and to get really the basics and really get a support system and a mentorship support that could really make a difference in applying to grad school. So there are many graduate preparation programs, not only on campus, but also outside of UC San Diego. As an engineering student, these are things that you could ask directly at the Idea Center. You could go to the undergraduate research hub and also ask about the different programs that are available. But essentially, these are called enrichment programs. So they give you a variety of different experiences that will make you more qualified to pursue education beyond the bachelor's degree. These could be either university or grant funded. These could also have or include a research component. These could also be part of professional development and help you attain skills such as public speaking, communication, leadership. You get a support network of like-minded peers when you participate in these programs. And obviously you get faculty, staff, and other peers who understand your background, right? Financial aid and financial support, such as in the form of stipends, is usually available through these programs. So in order to find opportunities not only on campus, but also off campus, I like to introduce you to the concept of research experiences for undergraduates. And research is important if you want to get into a PhD, for example. If you want to go and pursue a graduate program, such as a doctoral program, when you research is important also for a master's, right? But it really makes a difference when you're applying to a doctoral program. If you want to get more research experience outside of UC San Diego, I recommend Googling an area such as, in this case, you're all engineering. So I would say like structural engineering, REU, or just engineering REU in general. Or maybe researching and typing the university name, right? So REU Berkeley or REU Stanford, and then looking up some of the opportunities that you get out of that search, right? These are some good websites that you can find some of these research experiences. At the nsf.gov website, there's good opportunities. There's also an opportunities board under the SACNA's organization. And also there's a page called Científico Latino, which has a list of REU opportunities for STEM students. Lastly, if you wanted to pursue a graduate preparation program or research at UC San Diego, the office named now Undergraduate Research Hub has a variety of different programs that are offered to students that include scholarship and money for conferences, that include preparation for grad school, that you can access as a student. You also attain valuable research and professional preparation to pursue advanced degrees. In this case, graduate school, you get a variety of different leadership trainings. There's opportunities for you to do research and to really explore what the field is about that you're doing. So if you haven't connected with the Undergraduate Research Hub, really my recommendation is to do that. I think we're now going to transition briefly into what to do if you're planning now for grad school, essentially to start next year. But before, I like to talk about student organizations. So I talked in the timeline about how getting involved in student organizations is important. So what you want to do is you want to go to the Center for Student Involvement at UC San Diego and look up some of the student organizations that are available. And I know that the Idea Center works with a variety of them, and that will be a good place for you to check any opportunities for getting involved in a student organization. So this is what I was going to. If you are already sure that you want to apply to grad school, the first thing that I like to recommend you do is that you create a spreadsheet. Create a spreadsheet with criteria, with different columns that represent your priorities as far as getting information about graduate programs, right? You need to also identify faculty in the program of interest who you would work with, and all of their names will go into this spreadsheet, right? The next is looking at the different universities and your options for grad school and seeing which ones have a better fit for you, right? So these are some of the aspects that you could consider. So the first one is like academics, housing, family and children, whether they have graduate student association, sports and recreation, health and wellness, arts and culture, conferences and annual meetings, professional networking, professional development and career, and the geographic location. Again, these are some of the aspects, some of the criteria that you'll take in consideration when looking at programs. And really, my recommendation is that you make a list of your top 3 or top 5 or even top 10 of these different criterias, and that you work your way down the list with the number of options that you have to apply to a certain program, right? So again, this is just a somewhat of a comprehensive list of the different things that students will consider when applying. So I like to stop there because there's obviously more information that we can relate to you as far as the application and the application process, but really, it would really depend on the program that you're applying, the institution that you apply, whether they will be requiring a certain thing, such as the GRE, for example, that now with the pandemic has been waived in a few institutions. Not everyone has waived it. Not every program waives it. But again, the requirements for a graduate degree are different in every institution and every program. So If you have questions about that, feel free to connect with me. But my best recommendation is to go to the program's website and look at the different admission requirements, because that's really going to give you a good idea of what you need to complete in order to be successful at applying. If you'd like to connect with me, this is our grad division website, grad.ucz.edu. And thank you. I'd like to answer any questions at this point. I know that there was a lot of information. There's still a few of you here in the room. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Well, if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Okay, you have a question in the chat.
Thank you, Alex. How would any of this advice change for a concurrent BSMS program at UC San Diego? For anybody who is in a BSMS program at UC San Diego, you're essentially completing a master's degree at the end of that 5th year, right? And I mean, the advice doesn't really change other than you already have a master's degree by the end of that. And if it's in your interest to pursue a doctoral degree beyond, or after your master's, really the master's, the fact that you already have a master's is going to help you get to the PhD, right? So there's the advice doesn't change other than hopefully you're getting research experience as well to make sure that you can get that you can be a qualified candidate for the doctoral degree if you like to pursue that. But for engineering students, oftentimes getting a master's degree represents maybe getting a raise in their place of employment, or advancing through the different ranks that are available at that particular place of employment. So again, it doesn't really change other than if you like to pursue a doc degree, really invite you to think about what that doc degree will require and make sure that you can do it as you're going through your program now.
Okay, if there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much, Edgar, for joining us today and presenting on graduate school. I know the information was extremely valuable for students. And as I mentioned, this presentation was recorded and will be available on YouTube on the Idea Center YouTube channel.
Okay, Alejandra, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Edgar. Bye, everyone.